Welcome to the Meaning Mindset with Rabbi Ron. I am your delighted, grateful host. I'm Rabbi Ron Lee Paz, coming to you from California. Well, my guest today flew in from Israel to join me in the studio. His name is Ron Margaliot. And Ron is a remarkable guest because I'm always interested in people that are going beyond their own limitations and people who are taking others beyond their own limitations and people who are decisive about wanting to make a positive difference in the lives of underprivileged kids in particular, and people in general who can benefit from great mentorship and great visionary ideas. Let's get straight to Ron Margaliot and hear about his organization Bartali and the website bartali.org.il. I think you'll be fascinated whether you're a cyclist or just a fan of good ideas. Let's get straight to this episode. Ron, first of all, it's wonderful to have you here and to meet you. And I know you're passing through, and I'm going to see you at an event tonight, actually, and learn more then about what you're doing. But I want to just think about words that come to mind and then leave it to you to talk about them. First of all, I'll say Italy, because there's an Italy connection, obviously, and a great story, an amazing story. As Roy Rubin told it to me, I thought, wow, what an inspiring story. Add to that, so I said Italy, there's certainly Israel. There's at-risk youth. There's October 7th. There's bicycles. There is resilience. These are some words that come to mind when I think about what you're doing, your world. Tell me more about them.
Wow.
From any point, come in from any one of those doorways.
I'll start from where we are.
Sure.
You know? I woke up this morning at Roy's house in this beautiful surrounding as you guys are at.
Gorgeous, yeah.
And I asked myself, you can't not asking yourself, this seems way more normal. We're coming from a different background, different reality. I choose to live where I live. I feel like I had many options. I have many options. I live out of Israel. I think it's about people. It really is. Everyone has his own reason why. Some people would say, it's about our history, about the land. I'm there. I'm in Israel. I live in Israel for the people, and that's at least from my perspective. This is what we try to do. We use this incredible tool of cycling that each of the people involved in this cause feel like it has helped him shape who he is today. To connect people, well, especially youth, that would otherwise be difficult to engage in such an intense, informal educational program, to go through a process in which we all are moving forward together. We're not there to educate them. We're not there to lead them. We are there in the process together with them, and I think that's something that, in a complicated reality as we are living in, especially over the past year, but even before, gives me hope, because it is not something you say, I'm here to leave something for the next generations. This is very egoistic. We're doing it for ourselves. We feel like going through this process together with these kids is helping us to learn ways to deal with this reality that we choose to live in. Some of it we don't choose, obviously, but we choose to live in Israel. This is home.
What's the story behind some of the kids? I'm as fascinated as you are and as driven by people more than anything else. There's nothing that interests me more. My daughter and I kind of argue about that sometimes because of movies, that she'll say, Dad, do you like those movies? I said, yeah, I'm interested in people's stories. And I'm interested in the lens that focuses in on a relationship, a person, a family, a home, a community, more than the giant wide-angle shot of the nation. Yeah, also interesting. But again, it's powerful when we zoom in and say, let's look at an individual whose life is changing and being changed. So what are some of the examples of some of the stories that you're seeing through your program?
So we are doing it now for the 7th year. Before October 7th, it was mainly with kids who are considered at risk. In Israel, the definition of at risk is wide. But we're talking about kids who either were sent out of their home because of different behavioral or so emotional issues. Kids were made Aliyah to Israel without their parents, mainly from Soviet Union, Ukraine, and Russia. Kids who spent time in rehab facilities because they've done bad things.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing that all of these kids have lack of trust in the adult world.
Yeah.
In one way, they all have a deep will to develop meaningful relationships. I mean, they like family support, they like parent support when they live in those boarding facilities. The social surrounding is the most important thing in their life. They care more of what their friends think about them than what I would think about them, even if I'm a meaningful adult. And we try to see that need and the fact that most of them are also experiencing lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, self-efficacy. And we try to see that and understand, even if sometimes it translates into a behavior that would say, okay, this kid is not motivated. This kid is not someone I believe can make a difference. Knowing where they're coming from and understanding what is it like, trying to understand what is it like to be in their shoes, gives us the incentive to believe, okay, this is a place where we can make a difference. And we've learned over the past few years that it takes time, it takes a lot of, you need to be humble. I've never experienced any of the things that they are going through, but they have a huge potential. These kids have a character to deal with things that most of us have never dealt with, and that is also a proof that they can deal with more. And if we are able to offer them something they actually want, and they will choose to do it, as we do in our program. We can't force any of our kids to ride bikes. It just doesn't happen. But if they choose that, it starts a process that can later on translate into something that we hope change their life path a bit.
So I want to go back on something you said. You said that in Israel, the term at-risk youth has a wider, different understanding or definition that it might here. What does that mean there? What does it mean particular to Israel?
Well, Israel is an incredible country, as we all know, the startup nation, but it's also one of the countries who has the largest social gaps in the Western society. Kids who are born to a family in the lower social classes doesn't have always the best chances of, dreaming or achieving their dreams in the first place. And what happens is you see a variety of kids. Some of them wouldn't necessarily be involved in crime or drugs or violence, but they just they don't have really many opportunities, and that leads to a series of problems. And the cost of living in Israel is rising every day, and the fact that some kids would say, they can either be from a Jewish background or non-Jewish background, would say, I don't have the opportunities that some of the other kids or young adults have, can translate it into a lot of frustration, and that can lead to other things, as we understand. We're living in a society that is very polarized. It wasn't born yesterday.
Yes, we are. Yes. We are here as well.
Yeah, but we're living in a very small country.
Yeah.
And we don't have the legitimacy to be polarized, as we've seen over the past year. And we try to use this program. We are not very large, and we are it's a niche. Cycling is not for everyone. But to show that we can make a difference in what those kids believe about themselves and what they believe about their friends and what they believe about their opportunities in the Israeli society and their belonging to it. And we hope that this can be part, obviously, of a variety of initiatives, but of people who understand that the change that Israel needs is a grassroots change. What led us to our failure in October 7th, the fact that our neighborhood is not great and they're not necessarily like us, is part of the bigger understanding that we need to take responsibility of our own future. And many of the people in my generation were very, very self-centered. And we choose to translate our passion for cycling to try to play a part in making a difference in what the reality of the society in Israel is. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I understand. You said a number of things that I want to come back to about. First of all, some of these kids are Jewish, which we think of as Israeli, but we know that Israeli is more multicultural than that. So you're saying that they're Jewish and Arab kids as well. Any other groups that I'm not thinking of?
We're working with three main groups. Group number one is what we call at risk. As I try to understand, it's a larger group than what you consider here at risk. It can be kids with either lack of family support, behavioral issues, emotional issues, difficulties. Second group is kids who suffer trauma, critical trauma, especially kids who experienced the October 7th war from very, very close. We even work now with kids who came back from captivity. And the third group is are groups of kids who come from minority populations in the Israeli society. So kids who are non-Jewish, can be Druze, Christian Arabs, Muslim Arabs. We have now a group of Bedouin kids we work with. We have a big goal of increasing the amount of girls across the organization. There's a phenomenon of girls riding. Girls, yeah. There's a phenomenon of lack of participation of teenage girls in such programs, especially at risk. Girls because of stigma. What would they think of me?
What will they think of me going to a program like this?
Yeah, and what would they think of me? If it's considered kind of masculine.
Yeah.
And therefore they don't even allow themselves to the opportunity to try to participate in something that can empower them, and they would prefer just to I don't know the word for that in English, but himanut. What's the word for himanut?
I don't know. What is it? Oh, I see. Okay. I'm thinking about, first of all, something you said about stigma. I don't think we think enough about stigma, about how damaging and dangerous stigma is. Yes. I was doing work in East Africa for a while, and one of the things that was happening was that people wouldn't show up for care because of the stigma of being seen to go to a clinic, let's say, or to ask for help. So there were signs in villages that would say, change your behavior, do this rather than that. But that's not going to change because the power of stigma is so strong. And it's so internalized by the individual who thinks, I can't go out in the world as that. I can't be seen to be who I am, vulnerable. Yes. And I think one of the things that I found, and I see in your program too, is they meet other people like them and go, oh, I can drop my shoulders. I'm not alone in this. Therefore, stigma has no power. It's we, it's us. It's not me. That's already empowering. Can you talk to me about, first of all, Bartali, Gino Bartali? I don't mind when, but I definitely want to hear that story. But the origins of the program. I know you were a professional cyclist before. What did you do before that?
So I picked up cycling at the age of 13. I grew up in a family that I didn't lack anything. My dad used to work for the Air Force. We moved home every few years based on where he was positioned. But at the age of 13, I didn't really feel like I had a place I belonged to. I had a lack of self-esteem, and I didn't really have great social skills, and I was in a bad place. And in my feelings, cycling kind of saved me. It enabled me to reinvent, my path, to take responsibility of my future. First and foremost, that sense of ability, self-efficacy, the ability to actually be good at something, not based on how my friend sees me, but really choose something that is only based on my own ability, and that was a life-changing experience for me.
At age 13 already.
It became the center of my life. I wanted to be special at something. I wanted to be good. Suddenly the few kids I knew ride bikes became the best friends I've had, the only friends I've had. Those are people that went through these non-verbal experiences together with me, and I felt like they get it. They understand what it's like. At the age of 16, I somehow won the Israeli national championship, it's kind of a neighborhood championship, if I'm honest, based on how many kids were actually competing. It was June, and in July they broadcasted the Tour de France in Eurosport, and I watched Lance Armstrong winning his 7th Tour de France, beating Ivan Basso. And I thought, if in 3 years I became from that kid who had no friends and didn't feel like he had a place in the world to winning the national championship, I can probably be in the Tour de France. It makes sense. I told it to my dad. He said, don't come up with big statements. I decided I'll prove it to him. And I spent the following 9 years trying to achieve that dream. I I raised in Europe. I live out of a suitcase. I had no money, but I was very ambitious. In 2011, I got a contract at what was then the world's second best team, a team called Team Saxo Bank, with Alberto Contador, was a 5-time Tour de France winner. I was their worst rider by far.
But on the team.
I was on the team. In the aftermath, I know that they wanted Israeli sponsors, which eventually didn't get. But after 2 years over there of really trying hard, or what you call it in American, nice try, they showed me the door. I was devastated. I didn't make it to the Tour de France, which led me to really try to finish that story. I felt like if I would have made it to the Tour de France, I would be able to somehow make a difference in kids' lives. It would be that inspiration.
You already thought that?
I think it was a big motivation for me. Even trying to achieve it back then as an Israeli wasn't easy. I was doing my 3-year mandatory service in the army over 5 years. I tried to raise sponsors. I had to convince people to believe in me in European teams who didn't really care about Israel or languages. I traveled the world. It wasn't easy, and I wasn't good. I was very ambitious, and I worked hard. That led to I convinced a few businessmen who, from one reason or another, decided that it's worth a try to start a team that will achieve what I couldn't achieve myself. To make it to the Tour de France with Israeli riders. We started an Israeli team in 2014. We call it Israel Cycling Academy. The idea was really to set up a team that will inspire others, that will help kids who are coming from places like Israel to make it to the world's best race. I managed that program for 5 years. It was a challenging process, but somehow it worked. In 2018, we brought the world's second biggest bike race to start in Israel, the Giro d'Italia. It was the biggest sports event in the history of the country. Wow. And the team was in a safe place to go to the Tour de France. And it's only then that I realized that this is not how you do it. This is not how you are changing 13-year-old kids' lives if you really want to.
Can I just interrupt? One of the things, when you ask somebody who's successful at something, and you're clearly successful at what you're doing, and having an impact, when did you first have this idea, this kind of bigger idea of helping other people? They'll often pick a date because we all decide our story, right? How we remember it. But what I see from your story is it really wasn't about you winning. I mean, really at an early age, you were very clear that you wanted to do something that would make a difference. I think it's worth just thinking about that. I don't know how many people say they want to make a difference in the world. I wonder if you survey high school students, college students, what do you want to do? I think many are thinking in terms of ROI. I want to have a return on the investment of my studies. I want to get that job, get that car, that house, that fabled life. And some people, like you, are saying, actually, important or not, I actually have a different goal. And my goal is to win as an individual. Well, that didn't happen, but that wasn't actually my goal. My goal was to do something for other people. Sorry for the interruption, but I just want to point out what I hear. So what happened then with the team? First of all, the Giro d'Italia happened. Yeah.
Giro d'Italia happened. The team did good. Since then, it participated 4 times in the Tour de France. There were Israeli riders over there. I felt it was a big failure. We achieved the performance goals, but that wasn't the idea. My idea, at least. The idea was to try to use it as a platform to make an impact. The first idea was, to use it as a sports diplomacy platform. How can we use cycling as a way to tell the story of Israel, especially in European countries that are not big, huge fans of us, who are fans of cycling. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me. And I felt like, we have a lot of issues to solve within ourselves over here in Israel. I think from a selfish perspective, I wanted to close a circle with that 13-year-old kid who felt like he needs to help other 13-year-old kid to pick up this amazing sport and as a tool to make a difference in their own lives. I felt like this is something that I believe can work. Obviously, not for everyone. And I quit the team. I gave my shares in the team to the billionaire now owns it. They're doing wonderful sports achievements over there.
Okay.
And I went on a path to try to search how you do it. The first thing I had to do was to define who is it for, and I wanted to bring it to kids who would otherwise wouldn't have access to it. So as I mentioned, we work with kids who are living in youth villages, in social service boarding facilities around Israel. Most of them wouldn't have access to such a complicated, expensive, dangerous sport.
Yeah. Street biking, street cycling.
Mountain biking.
Oh, mountain.
Mountain
Oh, I
biking.
saw on the video, right.
Yeah.
But you obviously were a street cyclist.
I was a road cyclist.
And
yeah,
then you
I
shifted.
changed, yeah.
Before you go on, what's unique about the bicycle as opposed to giving them, I don't know, baseball bat or football?
Well, I'm not objective.
Right.
I think cycling has a few unique advantages. One is that it can attract kids from a variety of reasons, which I'm not always sure what is the reason they are first attracted to. But some of them like the equipment. Some of them are attracted to the adventure and the fun part of it. The other kids, they like to maintain it. They like the responsibility, the logistic part. Some kids just like the social interaction, the fact that it's a group, it's an individual sport, but it's also we do it as a group session. But what I'm certain of is the reason they stay, because very early on they realize it's not always fun, and they stay because of their friends. You know, you create a sense of belonging. You know, and when you need to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. When sometimes they share rooms with kids who wouldn't go to bed early, and you need to ask yourself, it's cold outside or it's very hot and I don't feel like doing it. I understand it's very demanding. The reason why is usually the FOMO. I don't want my friends to do it without me. I don't want to fail them. And this is something that I think cycling is unique at. The combination of the individual experience, the fact that you need to challenge yourself. Nobody can push the climb up a hill.
Right.
If not you. If you don't want it, you just wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can be part of a group, and you learn how to help and receive help yourself. You learn how to come out. To come back after failures, to come up after you fall. We talked about resilience. Resilience, in my understanding, is what happened every time that I fall down. We are very good at falling in cycling, and we learn how to be back on our feet back again and again and again. And in Israel, it's an important skill you need to develop.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
I was at a talk a few days ago in Washington, and I can't remember his first name. Cohen is the last name. He is the chief debriefer of all of the hostages. So every single hostage that has come back, either because they were released or because they escaped, he's the first professional greeting them and watching them meet their families and then taking them into a room and talking and listening to them. It was an incredible thing to hear. But one of the things he talked about was resilience. And he talked about individual resilience in a way that really made me think, maybe there is collective resilience. Maybe we can say people are resilient. And I often wonder about that when we have a tragedy, a challenge in America, which is so big. You'll have a president get up and say, we're strong, we are this, we are that. And I go, okay, you're speaking for 300 million people. It's a big generalization. And I know that leaders need to inspire people with words as well. If I say we are strong, then hopefully the people listening to me find strength within them. But I always question that when I hear somebody saying we are this, we are that as a nation after 9/11 or anything we've dealt with. Israel's smaller. I think people are 1 foot away from each other in the country. There's a sense of connectedness. What I got from him was that he was very hopeful, by the way, about the society recovering from this trauma because of what he was seeing in the individuals. So one of the things he talked about was the fact that they were all in conversation. All the hostages were, even the ones who were alone in confinement for 500 days, they were all in conversations with other people. So some of them, if they were with their captors, would find ways to have over a year some kind of relationship with their captors. So they felt conversation meant whatever I'm dealing with in my life in this moment, I'm not alone. That's already one human need met. The others, some of them said to him, every single day I talk to my family. Whether they were there or not, clearly they weren't. They may have been in a 6x6 room, but every single day, they said aloud, verbally, I would talk to each member of my family, which was to me just incredible stories that came out of that tragedy, to say the least. He also talked about what they did, and I heard a couple of the freed hostages talking about how they kept their brains working. And there was one man who was 80, I believe, when he was taken captive. You remember him? I don't remember his name. And he said that he every day did high math problems.
Keith Siegel, no?
I think it is Keith Siegel. Every day he did math. I can't do math, but he did math. That was a way of keeping his brain sharp. He knew he wanted to come out as capable as when he went in, even at that age. And I think it was he who said he was in a 6x6 room. He measured the size of the tiles and made sure that every day he walked 4 miles.
That was Keith. Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, the human spirit. And the hostages who said no, again, you know the names better than I do. Don't let me go. Even when they were freed, they said, let this person go or that person. You see some incredible stories. All of this brings me back to you and the kids and cycling. What are some of the stories? What's kind of miraculous that you're seeing among these kids?
Seeing a lot, but I want to reflect on something you've said. I think a resilient society is also a society that take care of the people who are less resilient. You know, one of the metrics I think we should measure ourselves are based on what happened when somebody next to us, you know, gives up. How much do we actually do to try to make a difference? We are talking about post-traumatic growth in Israel a lot.
Right,
you know?
I hear that term used a lot.
Yeah, post-traumatic growth, to my understanding, is when I'm pushed back to the wall. You know, how do I change the narrative then from being a victim to being someone who actually discovered the strength he has and choose to focus on that rather than the trauma he experienced. You know, the fact that he didn't choose to be pushed back to the wall, but how is he going to rise from that? And essentially, you know, no filters. Have nothing to lose, and discover new strength, and he's rising to a better place than he was before. And that's kind of idea. You know, it's an ideal place to be at, but it's not. You know, we set ourselves a goal to teach these kids perseverance. This is something that we believe cycling can give you. You know, when you ride long distances of cycling, you learn how to persevere. But perseverance is not a linear line. It's up and down all the time. And it's what happened when every time after I reach a peak, usually there will be some kind of a descent. You know, an emotional descent, moral descent. And how do I deal with that? And I think that our resiliency as a society can't be measured now. We are still in that process. You know, the kids we are working with, kids. Some of them came back from captivity. Some of them, you know, have relatives who are. They are not in a place where when we can decide. See,
results,
they grew.
Check.
Yeah. They grew. They are dealing with an impossible reality. We're looking for small success. If you are able to find the strength to ride outside of your home, maybe in the fields where a few months ago there were terrorists killing your people that you knew, those are incredible strength. Does it mean that you are now healed? No, I don't think so.
Right.
I think we are still dealing with an impossible reality. It doesn't still mean that we are not, you know, in a place where we need to find the strength to function every day. You know, our role models, our responsibility as role models, as hopefully to be meaningful adults, is not to try to play Superman. I think we need to show these kids that we are vulnerable. We need to build trust with them. We need to try to help them, to give them the tools to analyze their reality. We're living in a good place. None of us has control over this surreal reality. When we run to the shelters because of Iranian bombs, when something like October 7 happened, when people are talking in terms of good or bad, on a reality that, sometimes is difficult to judge, we need to help them develop the tools that we not necessarily have ourselves. But first and foremost, we need to ask ourselves, what is it like? What do they feel? Where are they at? And what do they need from us? Usually it's just be there together with them, being humble enough to know that we don't know either. But I think asking those questions, what do I need to function today? Do I need to count the steps in that small room that I feel that surrounds me, and I don't, if it helps, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
We are talking about kids who are coming from a variety of backgrounds, but most of them don't have dreams or ambitions. They're just functioning somehow. Okay. They are in survival mode. They don't necessarily have the support, to feel that they should dream. They should have ambitions, and we want to change that. That despite everything they are experiencing, we want to change that, the fact that they will have inner ambitions. And we believe that those ambitions are a third step after building, in the first place, their inner confidence, then their sense of belonging, and always remind them that they have this, these layers within them that they can count on, that they are strong, that they have people they can trust, to be vulnerable next to. And if we develop those first two, then they can have ambitions. And ambitions also means that we can fail, right?
Right, absolutely. I think about resilience in terms of physics, and you throw a ball against a wall, and to us, the ball immediately bounces back to its full shape.
Yeah.
But if we slowed down the film, we'd see it actually as a process. It takes time from being flattened against the wall and being changed by the event. It's actually, in real time, it's a process before it gets back to its full shape and can function again. I guess that's an example of these stages that you're discussing. So you obviously have a structure. It's not just get kids on bikes. Yes. That's going to solve the problem. Tell me more about the structure.
So Bartali Youth in Movement is kind of a leadership program for kids who don't always have the access to meaningful leadership programs. You use the bikes as a way to engage kids that are difficult to engage in such programs. We have a 3-year impact model based on phases. The kids are gradually going through a process from being young participants. Some of them don't know how to even ride bikes or hold a handlebar, to learning how to lead outdoor mountain bike journeys by themselves. It takes time. It's not always easy for us. We often believe that we are way closer to achieve that than we actually are. But we try to leverage our own passion for cycling to help those kids discover things about themselves. And our goal is not the bike. It's the life out of the bike.
Right.
And the way we do that is by working in kind of a B2B2C format. We work with
B2B2C?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't work with just kids, who their parents sent them. We usually don't even know the parents. We work with institutes, youth villages, social service boarding facilities, schools, community centers. Now we started also working with communities themselves, in the Western Negev, and soon we will start working in communities in the north of Israel. Kids who were displaced over the past year. And in all of those communities, we are offering this opportunity to open this long-term cycling program. Kids has to go through a screening process to get in the program. It's crucial for us that there will be some kind of a commitment building method, opportunity for them to actually commit, because it's not easy. Oh. And what we do is that we establish a cycling center. We bring bikes. We set up a proper center. We get usually a place that nobody wanted in the school or the community center. We turn it into a place that the kids will see, okay, this guy takes it seriously. And they start a program that it can last between 15 sessions to 3 years. And in all of these programs, they will learn gradually how to ride bike. Slowly, the distance goes further and the challenges as well. But they will also learn how to take responsibility. So kids will either choose either to become young mechanics or young instructors. They will go through a training process. And from the second year on, they learn also how to lead younger kids, like as they do in a youth movement.
Yeah. And presumably they're not paying for this because they can't. So are they funded by the state? Are they funded by individual donors?
So our program is we have a combination of sources.
Yeah, I see you have other sponsor names, right?
Yeah, we have several philanthropic donors. The biggest American one is the Goldrich Family Foundation, who supports us from day one. We have the Rubin family. We have a variety of partners, and we require each of these institutes to pay as well. So it works based on a matching funding.
I see.
We see it as a partnership with them. We actually co-leading it together with them. In each of those programs, each of these groups, we have a paid instructor that we hire and train by Bartali. Yeah. We train them both professionally on the bike and also educationally. Some of them are even therapists themselves. But we are leading it together with one of the instructors or the teacher of the institute that we train him as well. We don't actually hire him, but our goal is to really find a meaningful adult that the kids would meet out of the bike, so we can help translate those experiences to the time when they get off the saddle. What happens is many of our kids who pick up cycling are not necessarily the kids who behave the best in other places in their life. And when the other adults in their life don't see how they can change on the bike, they will usually treat them the same way they did before. Yeah. And then the process doesn't last. And what we find out is that we need to work with these other adults as well. We need to find a way to show them, how treating these kids in a different way, and how noticing that they're going through a change process is needed, so we can close that circle.
What's the therapeutic side of this? Because it's obviously huge. There's the practical therapeutic of the experiences, changing them. But what do you have in terms of traditional therapeutic support?
Yeah, so it's important to say we're not a therapist, and we're not a therapeutic program. We do have there are a lot of therapeutic advantages.
Sure.
But we are focusing on two main ones. One is how strengthening the body influences also your mind and your soul. Many of our kids are kids who would not necessarily choose any other sport. Cycling had this advantage that because it doesn't have any impact on your bones, like running will. Sometimes we can take kids who are not, they're not usually very fit. They can even be a little bit of overweight. Some of those kids doesn't have, they wouldn't be best in ball sports, for example. And they would pick up cycling and would improve pretty fast. So that's one thing. How can we help them feel better with their bodies, and how this, strengthening the body help their soul? The other thing is we need to help them based on those experiences, the tough experiences they go on the bike, change their perception of themselves, what they are capable of. And we do that by starting each session with we introduce the goals, but we let the kids lead. Also, they get to choose what they do, and sometimes they get to lead others as well. And then when we finish the session, we reflect on what we've been through. The group is becoming a very meaningful part of shaping, what these kids think about themselves. So when one of our instructors tell the kids, "You were great today," he likes it. When one of his friends tell him that,
incredible.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
How many kids are in the program right now? How many kids historically have gone through the program? Do you have any metrics? Are you following them into their lives to see what their path is post program?
Yeah, so we're now in the 7th year of this program.
Okay.
We have 15 sessions, 15 locations around the country in which we have cycling centers. We have 55 groups training at least once a week, some of them twice or 3 times a week. That's 460 kids riding on a weekly basis. Currently, there are around 600 we work with annually. Currently, some of them obviously drop, but 460 are persevering. So far, we worked with around 2,100 kids.
Yeah.
Not all of them we can say, we can be considered as graduates. Some of them dropped earlier, but we've seen kids who, as I said, wouldn't necessarily have a lot of ambitions. Getting into senior units in the IDF. We've seen kids who wouldn't choose necessarily to stay in Israel, kids who made Aliyah without their parents, make it their home and consider themselves as Israelis. And we also had kids that we are still, finding ways to help, because they don't always have the necessary the right support. We are now starting a graduate program, which we're very proud of.
For the alumni,
For the alumni, yeah. Most of our graduates, most of our alumni serving in the army as lone soldiers. They don't have a family always to go back to in the weekends for their spend time back home. We want to support them until the age of 26, hopefully helping them to get to the academy as well. And we also want to change a little bit their perception. Israel is very polarized, as I said. We work with kids from a variety of backgrounds. We don't think that we can change always the big picture, but trying to change intolerance to tolerance by exposing them to kids from different backgrounds than theirs, and hopefully that it will influence some way down the path, in their life decisions when they are meeting kids who are different than them, populations who are different than them.
Yeah,
we think it's an important task nowadays. We do that by these informal meetings on the bikes. Every few months, we get all the kids of the program to meet for a joint journey.
Oh,
it doesn't always involve a lot of talking, but suddenly they realize that the guy they rode next to, someone from a different religion, maybe speaks even a different language, but he wears the same jersey.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Yeah. What's frustrating you?
Well, a lot.
Okay.
First, it's we don't always live in a reality that you feel that you can trust, But for us, our biggest challenge nowadays is the resource world, or is the physical one. And the fact that we are sitting now in the US feels to me a bit frustrating. I don't feel like what I should do is sitting here. I would rather be at home, but I understand the need.
Yeah.
The human resource is not easy either. The cost of living in Israel is very, very high. Many amazing people who would want to work for us just can't. They say, listen, this is something I will do when I retire one day.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, to work. We feel that what we do is important. But yeah, this is what we have to do. And there are also amazing people who gets it and find a way to get involved. I think often when people ask us about our program, they look at it from their own eyes. So over here in America, you guys are very used to scale.
Right.
How much? How many?
Right. How do you get 2,000 to 10,000?
Yeah, and it's never enough. And we decided we're going to do it differently. This program is named after Gino Bartali, This program is named after Gino Bartali, a non-Jewish Italian cyclist, the only one who won the Tour de France before and after Second World War. That when he was
hold on, let me just hear that again. Bartali, I know because I read about him.
Yeah.
So when was he riding? What era?
Gino Bartali, he started competing at the late 30s.
Okay, started the war.
Before the war, he was the only cyclist in history who won the Tour de France before and after World War.
I see.
And when the Nazis invaded Italy in September of 1943, Rabbi Natan Cassuto started an underground movement, a Jewish Christian underground movement, first helping those Jews to hide and then helping them to run away from Nazi Italy. He asked Gino Bartali to try to leverage the fact that he was famous, to use his fame to help deliver fake IDs, fake documents, so those Jews can use it to escape Italy. He didn't have to do it. He had a family at home. Later on, it was found out that he helped hiding the Goldenberg family in his cellar. And both him and all the members of the underground movement never talked. It took 11 years since he passed in May 2000, for him to get awarded as righteous among the nations by Yad Vashem.
Yeah,
he died poor. The story was never out. The fact we wanted to use his story to name the organization after him, both to get more people, especially kids, to learn about his history, but more than that, commemorate his legacy.
Yeah,
we believe that Bartali used his passion for long distance cycling to make a difference in people's life. He did it in a way, for the sake of it, not for what people would write about him or how many likes he would have on social media. But he also asked himself the crucial question of what should leadership look like, and it took an action,
An enormous risk.
An enormous risk.
So if I understand correctly, Bartali took the fake IDs, he put them in the pipes, the tubes, the body of the bicycles, and then he rode what distances to deliver them?
Hundreds of kilometers. So Most
From what
notably,
city to what city?
where it rides from Florence to Assisi, so it's around 180 kilometers on
Yeah.
a linear line.
Right.
Back then, no asphalt roads.
Yeah.
We're talking about for bikes of 30 kilograms with very poor brakes, no gears. You would take out the seat, put the fake IDs inside the bike, put back the seat on, ride those hundreds of kilometers, usually deliver them to another middleman. So we never get to even get the joy of meeting the people he helped saving. Going back to his home, never talking about it.
How many of these rides did he do, as far as we know?
He did dozens of rides.
Really?
He was involved in saving 800 Jews.
Do we know what drove him? Pardon the pun.
I think it was value driven.
It was what? Sorry.
It was very
Values
value
driven.
driven.
Yeah. But do we know anything about his life, his
It was very
beliefs?
religious.
He was
very
okay.
religious. Yes, he was follow Cardinal Elia della Costa, was his mentor, and he believed it was that's what his faith, his belief led him to do.
Yeah. So there's a quote in Genesis that's very important. I don't think Jewish people see it as important as Christian people do. It says, "I will bless those who bless Israel, and I will curse those who curse Israel." If you talk to Catholics, Christians, people who are blessing Israel in any way, not only the country but the people, they'll often quote that. They want to be on the right side of history in that sense. And maybe that motivated him, or maybe he had a mentor, as you say, and a soul that was driven by the need to do right in a time when so much wrong was happening.
He was his famous quote is "Il bene si fa ma non si dice," which in Italian means "good is something you do, not something you talk about." So
good is something you do, not something you talk about. Sure.
Yeah.
He also said something about medals, that they're medals we wear. Go ahead.
Yeah, he said certain medals are pinned to your soul, not to your heart, not to your jersey, not to your jacket.
He's a great example of that.
Yeah, he said it, and people will tell him, "Bartali, you were a hero." He said, "Heroes are those who suffered, those who fought in wars. I'm just a cyclist."
Yeah. Oh, so do the kids learn that story?
Yeah, we have Yom HaShoah coming.
Yeah.
So they learn the story. Some of our alumni are participating in a ride we do every year in June in Italy. We are following the path that he used to ride. We do it every year. Now it will be our 5th time. Now we either ride from Assisi to Florence or from Florence to Assisi.
Oh, that's beautiful. I know that area. I know Umbria well.
Yeah.
And that's a gorgeous
So we
area.
ride from Umbria to Tuscany or the other way. And we meet there Bartali's granddaughter, Gioia Bartali, who is deeply involved as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what's next for the program?
So now we were, up until October 7th, we were a small kind of niche program for at-risk youth, especially those who live out of their home in those boarding facilities. And then October 7th happened. Our entire reality, was shaken. Many of our staff were recruited to the IDF. And we asked ourselves, what is our role? We're not, emergency organization.
Right.
But we got calls from many of our friends who said, there are around 50,000 kids evacuated all around the country, it's north and the south. Those kids, they sleep at the day, they are waking up at night, their parents are not really functioning, they don't really know how they're going to survive the next day, and they are exposed to violence, drugs, alcohol, and they need a professional organization who is able to engage them. They don't want to really talk to anyone, they don't want to talk to a therapist. Can you guys help? And we obviously looked for a way to do it. We were a small organization. We had to learn how to scale up pretty fast. We established 7 temporary cycling centers across the country. Some of the communities who were harmed the most, Kfar Aza, Nachal Oz, Be'eri. So we're talking about people.
Kibbutzim outside of Gaza.
Yeah, they were displaced. They lived in Elat, in Mishmar Ha'emek, in Shfaim, in the Dead Sea. And we had to work fast also. It's critical how fast you're able to actually get them to do something. They were closed in the hotel, they didn't want to talk to anyone, exposed to all those non-healthy attractions. So those cycling centers, we hire and train new staff members. Some of our old staff members decided to relocate themselves across the country to try to help, as we all did. But we very early on we said, we are not doing things for the short term. Our number one metrics, you asked about metrics of success, is perseverance. We are trying to measure how many kids lasted a 3-year process in which they are gradually becoming from young participants to young leaders themselves. And how does that reflect to other areas of their life, their schools, their behavior. And that's what we aim to do. And when you're talking with someone who lost their home, his friends are in captivity, and you tell them, listen, we are trying to do something long distance, he would look at you and he would say, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So we said it's not about
You're
what we say.
talking about tomorrow, I'm trying to live this moment.
Yes. And we said, it's not about what we say, it's about what we show them. And we said, our commitment to ourselves and to them is that we're not going to be other people who are going to fail them, as what you just experienced. And we made a commitment to move back with them to wherever they will go. We are doing it now for almost a year and a half. We established this past October 24, a year after the horrible incidents of October 7th, our largest cycling center in the Western Negev in Kibbutz Ruchama with 3 other branches across the Western Negev. We're working with kids from all of those kibbutzim, Nir Oz, Kfar Aza, Ruchama, Dorot, Sderot. And our goal now is to start working to do the same thing in the north as well. Many of those kids have experienced as bad of a trauma. The north has been bombarded heavily. They don't necessarily were recognized as kids who experienced those trauma. We're also talking about a region in which the past 20 years, experienced a lot of hardship.
Right.
And we feel that this is what we need to do. We can't save the world, but we have a commitment for this generation.
Yeah.
And we have several skills in which we're very good at. We are very good in engaging kids that are difficult to engage with and change their beliefs about themselves and their surrounding.
Is there an equivalent in Palestinian society that you're aware of, even if it isn't bicycling, but something that is helping these traumatized kids?
It's a good question. I'm not very aware of what's happening in Palestinian society. We work with Arabic kids. Yeah. Obviously Israeli Arabic kids. Unfortunately, I think nowadays the Palestinian kids are not in a good place.
Right.
It's not easy.
Every human has the same experience of trauma and the same need for purpose and hope.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think this is one of our largest problems is that these kids don't have hope. And we understand how this story evolves.
Yeah. I think there's so much that you're doing that we can see on a video and so much that you can never see in video, right? You see kids. By the way, you have a great video on your website. Just the intro for anybody who wants to see what the program looks like, because I think that's powerful. It's just really well made, and it tells the story really well from my perspective. Sometimes I think, maybe not sometimes, the universal human need is to be seen by other people. I think to know that you matter to somebody. I think that already heals our heart. Then teach me how to ride a bike. Then teach me that I can have friends, because I never had friends, and that I can be part of a mini society, which means I can be part of society. But I think there's something that you're doing that's so powerful, which is just saying to kids who think they're the invisibles in society because they're not fill in the blank, beautiful, successful, capable, all these other things, parented, loved, supported, saying just by looking at them, saying, we see you, you're here, we're here for you. That's amazing. And the word abandonment kept coming into my mind when you talked about the kinds of kids that you're taking care of and how much harm comes to people through core abandonment, the idea that they were abandoned by circumstances, war, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, wherever it was, abandoned by breakages in family. They feel, and we know they deserve love and caring and support and to matter to other people. And you're doing incredible things. I'm just, kol hakavod, it's just beautiful to see what you're doing. And next time I get to Israel, it's been a long time, I want to come and see, in person what you're doing.
Should come.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I really love the idea that we're sharing a story of beauty and hope, because people think of the news that they hear and they just hear horrible things coming out of the Middle East. I hear great things as well, as you do, but this is one of the stories we need people to know as well, that people are caring for people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll add one more thing. You talked about caring about them and not abandoning them. I think one of the one of the ways we try to show them love is not necessarily by being easy with them. I'll use sports metaphors. When someone is a good cyclist and is fit, it never gets easy. You can just suffer for longer. When we see that they are good, we demand more from them. That's our way to show them that we actually care. Obviously, we're also there for them, try to be there when they're vulnerable. But we try to see that the fact that these kids are dealing with a lot of hardships is also mean that they have a huge potential to make a difference for themselves and for others too.
Yeah, they're inspiring other people.
Yes.
They're teachers. Each kid is a teacher to a kid next to him. And I think about, I hate running. I like cycling, and I'm not a cyclist, but I like cycling. And I know those times when you just have a choice to make. Am I quitting? Am I getting off? Am I turning around? Or am I going to continue? So those are powerful human moments for all of these kids. Well, thank you for spending time with me and with us and sharing your story, because you don't know what happens in another society or another area even of your own society, because somebody heard this story and then they think, oh, I could. And then conversations start and other lives are changed. So really, I'm really grateful to you. And I'm happy to have met you. And I look forward to seeing you at the talk that you're going to give in the evening. And hopefully you get through this and through your time here, this support to do more of this good work. What we'll do is make sure that at the end of the video and in the bio line underneath, people have links to your media, to your website, but also to your giving page so people can support this. Do you have any idea what it costs per child? I don't know if you already said that. I can't remember if you said a dollar amount.
Yeah, it costs us $1,800 per child a year, and that's including the obviously the instructor course and all of the bike equipment and the journeys we take them. This is the cost we raise from philanthropy. We have an equivalent cost that is paid by the local institute we work with. So the real cost is $3,600.
Yeah.
And that's not a small amount, but if you consider the amount of time these kids are spending together with us, between 1 to 3 times a week, and the intensity of these experiences, we believe it's very meaningful. We have a huge demand. I'd say we have a lot of institutes around the country was willing to pay their $1,800. Our biggest limit at the moment, on top of raising enough human resource, enough instructors to work with us, because bikes are easy to buy, is to raise the other part, the other $1,800, so we can support each of those kids who actually want it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
This season is produced and edited by Jonah Lee Paz. Content editing by Bronwyn Lee Paz. Musical theme by Amotz Plesner. Logo art by Janice Rudnitsky. Graphic design by Gusta Lee Paz. Social media management by Morgan Shanahan and Sophie Bergeron. The Meaning Mindset with Rabbi Ron is hosted by Rabbi Ron Lee Paz. Find us wherever you find your podcasts.